Films these days that are aimed at kids tend to be pretty PC and straightforward, all about people having adventures and living happily ever after when the day is saved. But back in the 80s and 90s, kids films could fuck your life right up and scare the bejesus out of you. Films like A Never-Ending Story, Labyrinth and Dark Crystal are just examples of films that had some seriously messed up stuff in them that fecked with kids' minds. But one film that at first attracts kids' attention with furry looking animals right before unleashing small green monsters on you is Gremlins.
I'll bet every kid in America would like to have one. They might even replace the dog as the family pet.
Gremlins is a 1984 horror comedy movie film directed by Joe Dante, who also directed The Howling, The Burbs and Small Soldiers to name a few. It follows Billy, played by Zach Galligan, who gets a weird looking pet from his dad one Christmas that starts to feck and multiply and creates nastier, more evil versions of its lovable self. Our movie film begins in Chinatown where we meet Randall Peltzer. He's a man who creates all these daft inventions that just seem to never work right. He's in town looking for an interesting gift for his son Billy for Christmas. He wanders into a shop owned by Mr. Wing, who has something you wouldn't see out and about in the Black Friday deals.
What is that?
Mogwai.
Randall is just thinking, I'll be having this lad, but Mr. Wing won't sell it to him at all, not even for 200 big ones. Mr. Wing knows a shitty deal when he sees one. You won't even get a woof woof for 200 now, never mind a weird furry looking monster thing. But Mr. Wing's grandson does a backdoor shady deal with Randall and sells him the Mogwai. He also tells Randall the 3 very important rules about owning a Mogwai.
Look, mister, there's 3 rules you've got to follow.
Yeah, what kind of rules?
Keep him out of the light. He hates bright light, especially sunlight. It'll kill him. And keep him away from water. Don't get him wet. But the most important rule, the rule you can never forget, no matter how much he cries, no matter how much he begs, never, never feed him after midnight.
We head over to Kingston Falls where the Christmas spirit is in full swing and we meet our lead Billy and also his neighbour Murray, played by Dick Miller, who is a tiny bit racist.
You don't find American machinery doing that. Our stuff can take anything. See that plow? 15 years old. Hasn't given me a day's trouble in 15 years. You know why? Kentucky Harvester. It ain't some foreign piece of crap you pick up these days. That's a Kentucky Harvester.
Billy works in the local bank where it's bring your pet to work every day. He also gets to work alongside Kate, who Billy would love nothing more than to shift the face off of. But Billy and his dog Barney have an arch nemesis in the form of this evil owl one, Mrs. Deagle. She wants to dush poor Barney after he bushed her snowman. Barney ends up knocking this owl one over like the good boy he is, but this only leads to poor Billy getting in trouble. Although he doesn't get fired even though his dog just attacked one of the bank's biggest investors. Oh well, we won't be seeing this mad owl one for a while anyway. Later that day, Billy comes home, which is filled with his dad's useless inventions that never seem to work. Jez, they make an absolute state of the place. Randall comes home and gives a gift to Billy. This right here is Gizmo, voiced by none other than Howie feckin' Mandel of all people.
Dad, it's really neat.
Really? That's your reaction to basically seeing a weird little monster type of thing? Maybe Billy just thought it was a fucking Furby or something. Billy's mother tries to get a pic for the gram with Gizmo, but the little guy hates photographs. No. Billy's dad is like, why'd you go and do that, you daft ass? And then finally explains the rules of having a Mogwai to them. Later on, Billy and Gizmo bond while having a bit of a sing-song and a jamming session. Look at Gizmo there in the Christmas hat. He's fucking loving it. The next day, Gizmo is enjoying his stories when feckin' Corey Friedman of all people shows up and isn't even one bit worried about the little creature Billy has. And then the feckin' Egypt ends up knocking water all over poor Gizmo, who feckin' pops off a few hairballs. Oh, so this is why you don't get one of these lads wet, as these hairballs grow into 5 more little feckers. Ah, Jesus Christ, now he has 6 of these lads to deal with. They even have a leader called Stripe. Am I the only one who remembers this lad being called Spike when you were a kid? Maybe the old Mandela effect is up to no good again. Anyway, these new Mogwai seem to be right pricks. Billy shows his dad all these new little feckers and he thinks he can just sell them all.
You know what? What? I'll bet every kid in America would like to have one of these. They might even replace the dog as the family pet.
The next day, Billy brings one of them to his former teacher, Mr. Hansen, to ask him what the fuck it is. Mr. Hansen has no fucking clue what it is, and then they decide to be feckin' Egypts and drop a bit of water on it to create a whole new one, which Mr. Hansen calls dibs on.
I keep one of these here. Run some tests on them.
Later on, Billy meets Kate and Murray at the bar, who drunkenly goes on and on about gremlins being about the place.
You gotta watch out for the foreigners because they plant gremlins in their machinery. That's the same gremlins brought down our planes in the big one.
Big one.
That's right.
With Murray sent off on his way, Billy goes for a walk with Kate, who quickly turns this nice romantic stroll super depressing.
The suicide rate's always the highest around the holidays.
Now I'm depressed.
Jesus, what a lovely thing to talk about on a walk home. She also hates Christmas, but doesn't want to tell Billy why.
God. Say you hate Washington's birthday or Thanksgiving and nobody cares, but say you hate Christmas and everybody makes you feel like you're a leper or something.
No, we just think you're daft altogether. But Billy isn't really put off by this and still takes a shot and asks her out on a date. And he gets the feckin' yes. Come on, Billy, get the fuck in there. Later that night, when Billy and Gizmo are just chilling out, these other little feckers are going as mad as a bag of spiders. Or a box in this case, as they want some food. Billy, being the smart lad that he is, checks that it's not past midnight so he doesn't break one of the rules. Seeing that it's all sound, he goes and gives these little feckers a rake of chicken to shut them the fuck up. Meanwhile, the one in the lab decides to have himself a ham sandwich. He is a grown lad after all. The next day, Billy wakes up to find a ton of eggs that look like xenomorph ones all about the place. Well, fuck. It turns out Billy accidentally fed the little feckers after midnight as the little shits cut the cord on the shagging clock. Billy goes back to Mr. Hansen, who explains exactly what the feck is going on.
Right, this is a cocoon, and inside he's going through changes. Lots of changes.
But later on, back at home, these eggs start to hatch. Get that feck out of there, Gizmo. Get that feck out of there now. And the one in school also hatches, and the thing that pops out of it ends up taking a bite out of Mr. Hansen. Billy comes back to the school only to find Mr. Hansen #dushed from taking a needle right in the arse. What a way to go. Billy tries to call for help, but the gremlin attacks him and then plays a spot of peekaboo in the nurse's room before doing a legger. Back home, the others are messing with poor Gizmo, but Billy's mother is still in the house and she's going to have none of their shite. She finds one of them just horshing cookies into himself and she's like, "You little fecker, not before your dinner." So she puts this lad right into the feckin' blender. #dushed. But this old lady isn't done yet, as she's fucking stabs the shit out of another one and then puts one of them in the microwave and blows its head the fuck up. That's one badass owl lady, as she just got a triple kill. It really looks like nothing is going to stop this killing spree of hers. Well, that is until the lads use the Christmas tree to bush the face off her. But don't worry, as Billy comes home and goes full on Highlander on this lad. Stripe is pissed that all his friends are #dushed and says, "Fuck ye, I'm off." Billy goes and gets Gizmo and they go after Stripe, who is at the YMCA. But he can't stop that little shit from doing a cannonball right into the giant pool, and he begins to create his own fucking gremlin army. Billy and Gizmo are like, "Fuck this," and get that feck out of there. Later on, Stripe and the boys rock on into town and start fucking with everyone and anything. They even run over poor Murray and his wife with his own snowplow. Now, I would say #dushed here, but these two appear in the second film, so somehow they survive this spot of plowing. But one person they do manage to officially dushed is that sour owl and Mrs. Deagle when they feck with their stairmaster and send her right out the feckin' window. #dushed. Meanwhile, Stripe and some of the lads are getting pissed drunk in the pub. 'Tis like any Christmas time in Ireland. There's all the lads now absolutely fucking steamboats having a great old time together. There's Jimmy now flashing his Mickey at Kate. He's an awful devil altogether. I see the annual Christmas poker game is also going on, which is all fun and games until some lad gets shot in the face. And you know what, there's always that one lad who's just come back from living abroad and is all cultured and shit, being bothered by one of the lads who's absolutely steamboats. Great time being had by all. And then Kate goes and feckin' ruins it by taking photos of them. Kate tries to get the fuck away from this party, but the IRA show up to stop her. But don't worry, cause Billy shows up and puts a stop to Jerry's boys and saves Kate. While they hide from the gremlins, Kate tells Billy why she hates Christmas, and this is where the film gets seriously fucking dark out of nowhere. It turns out her owl lad went #dushed on Christmas back in the day by getting stuck in the feckin' chimney while dressed as Santa. This is such a dark moment in an otherwise daft film that truly comes out of nowhere. But it's kinda quickly dropped as Billy and Kate have bigger issues to deal with. So once everything calms down in town, they go off and look for the gremlins, who have decided to go have a bit of a family trip to the movie films. These lads are fucking loving it. Look at that lad, loving it. But Stripe wants him some snacks, so he walks out of the screen to go get some. Meanwhile, Kate and Billy head down to the boiler room, where Billy lets out some gas and then lights a flame, and they get the feck out of there before blowing the cinema to Kingdom Come. They think all the gremlins are dushed, but wouldn't you know it, that son of a bitch Stripe is still alive. Stripe legs it away into the store, so Billy bursts in after him. But he can't go after him without getting the shift first from Kate. Come on, Billy, now go and fucking push that gremlin. The two of them end up playing a spot of baseball, but Billy is fucking useless at it and he even gets an arrow to the arm. And then this little lad goes in for the kill with a fucking chainsaw. Meanwhile, Kate manages to get the lights back on in the building, while Gizmo's doing his best Vinny D impression and driving about the place in this sweet convertible. But fuck, after bushing the face off Billy, Stripe ends up finding himself some water. Barney and Billy's dad show up for some backup, but Stripe is busy trying to bush the cap in Billy's ass. He also puts his finger into the fountain in order to create some more little feckers. But in comes Gizmo driving like a mad yoke with the save. He also fucking busts his own head off the ceiling while opening the blinds. And it turns out that sunlight is feckin' super effective against these lads, as it melts Stripe all the way to #dushed in a pretty gruesome but cool looking way. With Stripe and the lads now all dushed, Billy and the family get to have a nice Christmas together, until Mr. Wing appears like a feckin' ninja. And he ain't happy at all about what they've been doing with poor Gizmo.
You teach him to watch television. Aye-ya.
He tells them that they aren't ready to have a Mogwai at all, so he takes Gizmo away with him. But Gizmo wants to say something to Billy before he goes.
Bye, Billy.
Mr. Wing and Gizmo head off into the night, and the movie film is dushed. I think Gremlins is a film that most 90s kids grew up watching. I can remember it always being on TV either around Halloween or Christmas, as it's a film that kind of works around both times. I think the biggest thing in the film that always stands out to everyone is the 3 rules. Even just casual film viewers know them, and it allowed the film to stand out and become part of pop culture. Zach Galligan does a great job as Billy, leading us through the madness of the film, and along with a great supporting cast of characters, they keep you engaged throughout the film. But really, the main star of the film is Gizmo, who is such a lovable, cute little monster brought to life with amazing creature work. I mean, this is 1984, and I've seen far shitter effects work in a lot of films made today. The actual Gremlins of the film are another highlight, as most of the amazing effect work and humour goes into all their scenes, for the most part. Stuff like their birth from Gizmo, the attack in the kitchen, the bar scene and the cinema still look great and are really effective, but when the boys rock into town in stop motion, it doesn't look the best. But I'd take that any day over a remake of this film that would probably use 100% CGI Gremlins, which is a big no thanks. I never really found the Gremlins to be scary as a kid. I always thought they looked cool, and I always wanted one that looked like Stripe. I always found them to be more goofy and funny than scary, but I can see why some kids would be terrified of them. Actually, this film ended up being one of the reasons there is now a PG-13 rating, as many parents found it too scary for their kids. But like I said, I don't find it to be scary, it's just more silly than anything. But I can tell you the one terrifying bit in it, and that's Kate's demented story about her dad dying in the chimney. It's such a what the fuck moment, and it just comes out of nowhere and you don't know what to think of it. Gremlins is probably the best film that Joe Dante ever made, and that lad made the epic Small Soldiers. It's a great film to watch around the Christmas time, as it stands out with its more horror aspects and goofy charm. So I give Gremlins 8 out of 10 Horshes.